Okay, Jimmy, are we up and running? All right, it's pretty close to 9 o'clock. By the time I get done welcoming everybody, I think that we are going to hit it right on. So today is the 22nd day of August 2023. It's right at 9 o'clock. We are here for our regularly scheduled Karnes County Commissioners Court meeting. We do have a quorum present, so let's stand for a prayer and pledge and we'll get started.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and every day that you give us. We are all waiting for the blessing of rain, and please bring it to Karnes County. We ask that you be with everybody today as they come and go, and help us to do your will and to be equitable to all. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty. Okay, Ms. Sweezy, do we have any citizens signed up to speak this morning? Okay.
Morning.
Morning.
I don't have much. It's no gripe session. I'll put it that way. Just wanted to tell Shelby, thank you again for a prayer he said the other day that involved a lot of different things, but it involved y'all making good decisions for us. And y'all have made some good decisions for us, and some of them we don't agree with. But I wanted to give each one of y'all something I made off the internet for prayers for political leaders. Squeezing her out. I appreciate it. Y'all gonna talk about numerous things today. One of them being that 551.07 something about meeting with that attorney. That it doesn't state what the 551 really is on the what do you call it, the agenda. If anybody looks at it, you have to go and look it up. Not everybody's really aware of all that. What that is basically Open Meetings Act. And that's what y'all are going to talk to her about. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all come back with that, come back on that. And I hope that she answers all your questions concerning the Open Meetings Act. And y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item number 6, acknowledgement that the Marvin Whitty family for the donation of 15 fans to the Karnes County Fan Drive. Commissioner Dubnik.
Yes, sir. The last meeting, I just mentioned it, but I felt that the Whitty family should be acknowledged in court for the donation of 15 fans to our Karnes County Fan Drive. And they gave 15 fans.
Thank you to the Whitty family, that much needed. Even though I think we're going to get a little reprieve today from heat, it will be back in force tomorrow and throughout the week. Item number 7, acknowledge Love Thy Neighbor for donation of 12 fans to the Karnes County Fan Drive. Commissioner?
Again, Love Thy Neighbor, Mayor Lozano and that group over there, thank them for the donations of 12 fans that they gave to the Karnes County Fan Drive.
Mary Leonard and Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
Great organization that they have over there. Thank you. Item number 8, discuss/take possible action, updating rule of procedure, conduct, decorum for Commissioner Court handout. Y'all should all have that. Nothing, I don't think anything has changed on that. Huh? Yeah. Commissioners on it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So you just updated the names.
Updated the commissioners.
Judge, you need a
yeah,
motion or
the
no?
court. Yeah, we do. We need to action item.
I'll move that we approve this item as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, acknowledge presentation and discussion of portfolio currently held by Multi-Bank Securities, Fernando Pulido, Senior Vice President, Tom Dubnik.
Morning, Court.
Morning.
I asked Fernando to come and give us an overview of all the investment that he has with Karnes right now, that we switched some over to his firm. So he's going to give you guys analysis of what the market's doing right now and how we've done with our portfolio.
Good
Morning.
morning, Court. Good
Morning.
morning, Judge Hedke
Morning.
and Commissioners. Commissioner Rosales was not here last time I was here. New face. But pleasure working with you. Since the last meeting, we have moved to invest $30 million of the county's monies in AAA, AA plus AAA investments, U.S. government agencies, about $20 million, and $10 million in fully insured FDIC or NCUA insured CDs. So about 2/3 of the portfolio is in U.S. government agencies, and about 1/3 is in negotiable DTC eligible CDs. And what that means, just fancy words to say that these are liquid investments. We can go ahead and sell them in case we need to. Also, since last time we met, we had a meeting with the investment committee. It was about a month ago, right?
Yes.
And it was very nice. We had a lot of questions, good discussion, and brought everyone to speed. In summary, I know we don't have too much time, but let me just go ahead and explain what you can expect or what has been done. The portfolio average life, that is, what that means is what it takes to receive half of your money back, is 2.5 years. It was designed that way to be on the short side. The investment policy allows all the way up to 5 years, and we were trying to lock in these 5% or better yield that we have in the market for a little bit longer than just a few months or a year. So the average life is 2.5 years. The yield on the portfolio is 5.239, almost 5.25%. So that's what you're looking. In terms of income, you're looking annual income on the first year, about $1.5 million, to be exact, $1,567,000 in income. Works out to be about $130,000 a month in income for the county. Now, all that money is not going to come back at the same rate because some of these CDs and U.S. government agencies, they pay on a different frequency. Some pay on a monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual, and even some at maturity. So we need to anticipate that the cash flow is going to be a little bit different. I have provided Tom with a full 5-year cash flow schedule. So he knows exactly what is coming back and in what nature, whether it is interest payments or principal payments. So having said that, let me also explain. So where are we? At 5.25%, what does that mean? And at 2.5 years, just to give you an idea. Right now, just as I checked walking into the meeting, the 2-year U.S. Treasury stands at 5%, 5.0%. The 3-year stands at 4.7%. The yield curve is inverted, right? So at 2.5 years, the interpolated yield benchmark would be 4.85. So you're yielding 5.25%. Not bad. Now, what does that mean to you in terms of the value of the portfolio? I need you to be aware that the value of the portfolio is going to fluctuate every month because you don't have treasuries, right? You don't have U.S. Treasury. And even if you do, of course, it's going to fluctuate. But we have a spread to treasuries. You're trying to get a little bit better than U.S. Treasuries. And that's why we did the agencies and the CDs. But the value of the portfolio is going to fluctuate. I have with me and you probably have the front page of the brokerage statement. In the statement, you will see that the value, the ending value of the portfolio is less than $30 million. It went down by about $138,000. That is the market value of these CDs and agencies. Why? Because interest rates have moved a little higher, and the spreads have also widened a little bit since the time from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. This works out to be about a 0.5% decline on the value. Now, what does that mean to you is that this is what we refer to as, in accounting terms, an unrealized loss. You will have unrealized losses and also unrealized gains at times. Of course, if the market moves in the opposite direction. The value of your CDs, so that is the face value of your CDs and investments, will remain the same. And at maturity, or if they happen to get called, because some of the investments are callables by the issuer, your money will come back at the price you paid, which is par. So all these unrealized gains, unrealized losses have no bearing because you bought them all new issues at par, and your money will come back at par, at worst, at maturity on each of them. Right now, you're yielding 5.25%, and nothing is going to come back. The earliest anything can come back will be 12 months from now, unless we decide to sell them. And then again, that decision then is we need to take a look where the market is at that point. Having said that, just wanted to share those thoughts with you. Tom had asked me to explain that. And if you have any questions, we'd love to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions that you may have?
The market's going or anything right now?
No?
So if the dividends, whenever every month you said you'd be getting $100 and something thousand, is that right?
Yeah.
We're in the month of July.
July.
In terms of interest, $14,668.
Okay, does that money come into the county's coffers, or does it rotate back into a reinvestment part?
No.
County checking account.
Okay.
Yeah, that money comes, all the interest payments will come back to the county on a monthly basis. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a very good question. But again, on a month, if you average it out, because the first year, right, assuming no maturity, there is going to be no calls. Nobody can, and there is no maturity. So you're looking at about $1.5 million in income. It works about 130,000. So in 6 months, in 5 months from now, the interest payments that you're going to see in that is going in your local bank account will be pretty significant. Because many of them pay on a semi-annual basis.
And Tom, how will you show that receipt?
As interest income on our books.
Off of that fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's split out between the funds that we divided: road and bridge, general fund, road and bridge special, and courthouse maintenance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Market is very challenging right now. In terms of Fed funds rate increases, big debate. The market is pricing in no more Fed funds rate increases. Basically staying put, and also forecasting actually cuts in the overnight rate, right? So this affects your monies that you have at your state pools. Right now, the market is basically saying nothing is going to happen. Can that change? Of course, the next meeting is not until the 20th of next month. And, but there is, the pain is being felt with the cost of borrowing being so high. I was looking at mortgages, the national average is 7.55%. It's just brutal. It's just brutal.
Are we looking at a recession or
Oh.
a recession?
Maybe we are already in one, There is a lot of argument out there. The numbers are pretty painful.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, item number 10, discuss, approve, disapprove archival, imaging, and map reproduction to scale of 2 Tobin maps in the county clerk's office at a cost of $446 $0.76, and authorize Judge Headke to sign the customer acceptance. Ms. Sweezy?
And we've had them for years. They just need to be imaged so that we can make copies from the computer rather than the maps. The maps are rather large and over time they've just become bent up and messed up. And so we just want to kind of restore them and get them imaged on our computer so we can make copies.
Motion to approve item number 10 as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? No. Motion carries. Item number 11, discuss, approve, disapprove standby services agreement between Karnes County EMS and local school districts for medical standbys at scheduled athletic events. Casey?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. This agenda item came out of last year and a half worth of contact from the schools, so quick history lesson. So prior to last year, all the ISDs, to my knowledge and experience, had contracts with private EMS systems to provide standby agreement or standby services for their football games primarily. Last year was the first year that we had 3 school districts engaged with our department for the entire football season, to which we had fulfilled their requests, Kennedy, Runge, and Fall City, to provide standby services. And it was communicated at that time that, we're willing to do this. However, just understand that if we cannot provide a quote dedicated truck to you and we use one of our on-duty assets, there's obviously a huge potential for that truck or that asset to be recalled for the 911 system. So this year, all four school districts or representative of each school district reached out to me with the same request in the name of trying to get some consistent language on paper. That's why I wanted to bring this draft agreement to you today, as well as discuss a compensation mechanism at minimum for the payroll cost that's incurred by our department for these school districts. So you should have been provided a copy of the agreement. The only change I will tell you that has been made to the document is I added bullet point number 10 at the request of the Assistant County Attorney related to a hold harmless clause in there, and she has since approved that. One thing I wanted to point out again is the dedicated asset, meaning that we're bringing off-duty personnel using our spare truck, allows the school district to have that truck or that asset there for the entire game. There's still a need for the standby, or has been requested at least, for the standby outside of just having one truck. So I'm only capable of producing one dedicated truck per week for an event. There's multiple events throughout the football season to where I'm going to have 3 or 4 football games going on simultaneously within the county. So I'm going to be forced into a position to use an on-duty asset. So I wanted to stress to the court, and I've stressed to the representatives that have reached out to me thus far, is that you won't necessarily know if you're going to have a truck dedicated to you or not, because it's still going to look the same and smell the same. It's going to say Karnes County EMS on it, but it may leave because we have a 911 call. So I want that to, again, be very, very clear. And the agreement spells that out, is that we very simply will provide that truck to you for the period of your game that you have requested. However, understand that if we have a 911 call, that call takes precedence. You can still summon our services via telephone or whatever process you have internally for that. Related to the billing component, so this is something that, again, is new this year within the agreement that I've proposed to you today, is the only attempt is to try and recoup the payroll cost. As you will see in page 3 of the draft agreement, you have 2 options. One option is what we are considering to be a full medical standby, which includes a physical ambulance with 2 personnel, EMT and paramedic, or a combination EMT, or paramedic. Generally, most commonly, we staff all of our trucks with 1 EMT and 1 paramedic. That cost that's proposed is $60 an hour. Now, the question may come up is, what were the privates charging? I have not had any private openly tell me what they were charging prior to, but I've been told amongst the EMS community and other governmental entities that I've reached out to, they've been told $500 to $600 per game is what the going rate was. So the $60 is not an anecdotal number that I've prepared. It's simply what my costs are for payroll at overtime rate for my individuals that are coming in on their day off to provide these standbys. That right there gets you $58 an hour, so plus or minus $1 or $2 an hour. That recoups a little bit of the fuel that we're going to be burning while we're sitting there. For the option 2, which is what we're calling a squad medical standby, is if I'm not able to produce another additional ambulance and all I have is either my captain and their response vehicle or an off-duty EMT or paramedic and a supervisor's or first response vehicle that has equipment that has capability to treat on scene while we're waiting for transport to arrive, that option is $40 an hour. So that's a proposed rate that I have in the agreement for you to consider today for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know Mr. Bauer had reached out to me yesterday with Kennedy ISD, just asking a few questions. I've circulated a document to Mr. Dominguez and Runge, Mr. Pavelek, in Fall City. I've heard back from Mr. Dominguez. I have not heard back from Mr. Pavelek. And then I've been in communications with Ms. Whitaker, the athletic trainer for Karnes City ISD. So again, this is completely up to you related to that. And again, I just wanted to get something on paper to fairly and equitably just lay out the rules of the road related to, again, providing the service to them, as well as the compensation piece. I will tell you, and I'm not going to get off topic, but this topic brings up a larger point of discussion for other large festivals and events across the county, Barbecue Bash being an example. September the 1st and 2nd, Kennedy's going to be having a downtown event, of which we'd be requested to provide an asset for. All these things, our department incurs a pretty significant cost, and I, unfortunately, because of the SHS side of the house and medical directors and licenses and all that stuff, I'm not in a position to do anything privately with my employees to let them get compensated individually. It has to be a department-sponsored event because, for obvious reasons, insurance and everything else. So, again, not to get off topic, we can discuss those events on a separate date. This is more of the pressing topic related to the football standbys.
Judge, if I may.
Please.
Had a phone call yesterday from a board member of Kennedy, Oscar Garcia, and he was very happy to see that this was in the works, and he fully supported it.
And again, as a homegrown boy myself in Karnes City, I grew up going to football games in the hometown with the Karnes County ambulance being there, so I think it's something that we as a county can have pride in providing that service to the local ISDs. So we're happy to do that. And again, as far as open and transparency, all the schools have been great about telling me what their needs are. I told them, I said, if you need me for one game, tell me. If you need me for the whole season, tell me now so I can plan accordingly. And they've all been great to work with. So, I'm looking forward to it. I just wanted to make sure that I've had something as far as an agreement for you to consider for approval. Happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Any other questions for Casey from the court? Need a motion to approve that.
Judge, I move that we approve the standby service agreement between Karnes County EMS and local school districts for medical standby at a scheduled athletic events.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good homework. Item number 12, discuss/take possible action, private resale of Lot 6 in Block 185 of the City of Karnes City, the parcel ID 67411. John T. Banks, Tammy Broadway.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So there probably will not be action taken today. I'll ask that the court consider 12, 13, and 14. I want to talk about particulars on each one. But at the end of each item, there'll be a request from me after I've explained to you efforts that I'll coordinate with Jennifer Tapia and the county attorney's office. So I'll go into each case, but let me begin by mentioning that I think everyone in the courtroom is aware that back in 2013, 2014, there was a request out of Karnes County to the Attorney General regarding reservation of minerals. There was a opinion that we expected would have some follow-up in the court system in district court. It never happened. I will tell you that we've been in a holding pattern, and I know members of the court, if not every one of you, the tax office, my folks at the cities and at the schools have said, hey, folks want to know when these trust properties are going to be put back out on the market. And we have in an effort to let that Attorney General's opinion back in 20, it's Greg Abbott dash, like, whatever number, but it was directed at the former judge and the county attorney at the time, made the request, and they came back with an opinion. Again, we've been in a holding pattern. It's 9 years down the road. We've got lots of folks that are local, that own adjoining properties, that want to come in and say, you know what, don't care about the minerals. My gosh, let us get the surface estate. The problem is I don't want to do anything because there's a lot of very good meaning, well-intentioned adjoining owners, but I don't want to set up the county. I don't want to set up anyone for something, a suit down the road or someone coming back and saying, well, y'all aren't complying with this. I believe, and I've talked to Ms. Tapia, I think there is a happy medium where there can be conveyances at a later date when, and not just the three before you, and I'll be explaining that some of these really aren't trust properties, and I'll talk to the court about that. But I think that working with Ms. Tapia, Mr. Chapman, the office, and with all of the folks throughout the state who briefed and provided the amicus to the Attorney General back 10 years ago to say, here's what the opinion held, here's why there's internal discrepancies, here's risk that could be factored in, here's allowing things to move forward. And I'm saying all this in general terms because I don't have anything specific right now. But after talking about each one of these particular items, I'll make certain that it's clear that I will be coordinating with, sound like I grew up in McDade when I said that, but I'll be coordinating with Ms. Tapia and Mr. Chapman and make certain that when we come back to the court, we have a game plan that's formulated that says, court, we understand the risk. We understand also the needs of folks to just get on with life and put some of these back on the roll to folks who live next door. So that's what we'll be talking about. Now, Judge, with regard to specific item number 12, I had talked with Ms. Hernandez. Again, prime example of somebody who owns adjoining property, is going to take care of the property. She's going to do great things, but I'll unfortunately cannot move this one forward today because as I dug deeper and as I talked to the court, some of these things, I was a very young man and some of y'all may have even been younger when things happened in 85 and 2004. But with regard to item number 12, that ends up not being a trust property. So what's the significance today? Well, the significance is that whenever there's a property, and when I say trust property, I'm talking about when taxpayer doesn't pay the taxes, it goes to a sale, no one's there to bid on it, and it gets struck off or bid off to the taxing entities. It's held in trust by, in the situation that I'll be bringing before you, by the county when it's a trust property. That doesn't mean you own it outright. It means you hold it in trust for yourself, the city, the school, the water district, the hospital district, but you have the kind of like the trustees' powers to decide what to do. This one is not that trust property. When I sent this in, Judge, I was thinking, when I saw these references, I was thinking this old, it's going to be a trust property, but we couldn't find any taxes. Well, we couldn't find any information in the suit. So we ended up digging, and what we found out was in September 29th of 2004, 19 years ago, Anthony Morowitz, and I may be mispronouncing that, Morawietz.
Rabbits.
That's what I was going to say. Conveyed this property to the county outright. It wasn't in trust for anybody else. So on this property, you go from the tax code, which is what I deal with, but I'll also tell you, for plenty of clients, I handle the sale of fee simple, 100% owned property, but it's a different process. When I come to you for trust properties after I've consulted with your county attorney's office, I'll be saying, Judge, commissioners, approve this and we're done. We're not going to post it in the paper. We're going to take high bids. We move on down the road. That's the process for trust properties. This particular one that's fee owned, the process goes over to the Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 272, and it'll lay out, you got to publish it in the paper for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, you got to wait 2 weeks for people to submit bids. And then you come back sealed bids, and you process them, or you open them up and say, here's who we're going to sell it to. What I would urge the court this morning is that you allow me, because there's things like, you know, when do you want to publish it? How long do you want to give them to bid on it? Where do you want them to turn the sealed bids into? Who do you want? That I'm going to work with Ms. Tapia. We're going to come back next month, have a form, give it to the court, say, here's what we're going to be doing. And this isn't just for these 3 properties. This is more kind of getting started on the whole process.
Good.
Fee-owned, trust. So item number 12, I would ask that the court table it and put it on next month's, well, if you would allow me to contact your assistant to make certain that don't have a conflict so that I can be, next time I can be down here in front of the court.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so then we'll move to item number 13, discuss/take possible action, private resale of Lot 2, Block 185 of the Karnes City, parcel ID 63765. Go ahead, Mr. Banks.
Thank you, Judge. Again, this is one, at first glance, I went, okay, trust property. We're going to come in here and you know, we'll still need to work with Ms. Tapia and Mr. Chapman with regard to that Attorney General's opinion. But as I dug deeper, what I found is a deed from April of 1985 that, and I want to say this is something that I started practicing in 87. I got into this business in 97. And I just don't see these deeds in lieu. It was not a simple quit claim, here county, here it is, but it was not we're taking a judgment and we're selling it and striking it off. It was a hybrid that I will tell you, there's a reason I don't see them anymore, because they create a bunch of problems. You don't really know how you handle it in the tax code, how you handle it in the Texas government code. That's what I'm going to work with Ms. Toppy, and we're going to hopefully sort out. But in this situation, in item number 13, you've got a special warranty deed from 1985 that conveys, and there are probably 10 different folks, they all retain minerals, so that's not going to be an issue on this one. But it's a conveyance by the 10 heirs to the estate, reserving minerals. They convey it to the county, in its capacity as the county and as trustee for the city and the school. So it's kind of a hybrid that doesn't really fit squarely into trust property or fee-owned property. I think we're going to end up still having to do a sealed bid process because it was never pushed over into the tax code. Hey, this is trust property and you handle it under the tax code. But I'll work with Ms. Tapia. We'll come back to the court and say, here's the particulars, Judge, Commissioners. We'd like to run this through the paper. And you'll see, here's when we're going to run it. Here's how long we're going to send it out. We'll probably, I've always had sealed bids go to the presiding officer, hold them, and then, surprise,
Right.
here's what we're going to do. Right. But we'll have all that information ironed out, and I'd ask the court to table this and allow me to work with Melissa and coordinate a time to be back down here with Ms. Tapia and talk to the court.
Very good. Item number 14, discuss/take possible action, private resale of Lot 8 in Block 137 of the City of Karnes City, parcel ID 72284. Mr. Banks.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the one thing I have found with trust properties, and again, I work in 8 different counties, there's always kind of interesting things in trust properties. There's also interesting things when you're trying to find properties from 20 or 30 years ago. Item number 3, the person that is bidding on the property has adjoining property, takes care of the property. No doubt it would be beneficial if that individual could buy the property. The problem on this one, Judge, Commissioners, is the references that you see like at the appraisal district. And again, this isn't an indictment. There's no one over there that would have plugged this number in. And oh, by the way, even if there was, appraisal districts get a lot of stuff thrown at them. The reference that I found was not for this particular property. It was a sheriff's sale, but it included properties in this block. This is lot 8 in block 137. The reference properties, when I finally was able to get to the deed, pull it, sold lots 1 and 7, but not our 8. So I'm still digging, and I'll be working with Ms. Broadway to go back in and pull archived records, and hopefully she'll have them for me before I get back down here. But we're gonna have to dig in and find where this little fella even pops up, because it's not for certain that it is a trust property. I'm leaning toward thinking this one is a trust property, but again, I'm not here on just these 3 properties today. I'm letting the court know. We're gonna start moving, because I know y'all have been inundated with requests. Hey, let me buy this, and people will sign away, put it on blood oath. We don't want the minerals, we just want the surface. And we gotta figure out something to move these along. So this one, Judge, Commissioners, I'd ask also be tabled and allow me to coordinate with your office and reschedule within probably a month, certainly no more than 60 days.
Great,
And I'll be talking to Ms. Toppy also.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sounds fun. Treasure hunting. Item number 15, discuss, approve, disapprove election judges and alternate judge for the election term 2023, 2024, $50. Commissioner Dupnick. Go ahead, Beth.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Court.
Good morning.
So this morning you should have in front of you a list of the election judges and alternate judges for the appointment of the election cycle term years 2023 to 2024. So what I'm asking for the court is for this list to be approved. It would go through this November, but also into all of next year as well. So that way we wouldn't have to come back in the summer of next year for the general primary as well. Just to let you know, this list of judges was sent and discussed with the political parties, their political chairs, party chairs. And what happens is we send the list of previous workers not an application, but a notice if they are available to work for what years and what they would want to do and which elections. And if they would want to work in certain locations as well, which precincts. So we take that list, and then if there's any new ones that have come up, for example, on their voter registration cards, we can add those. We do have 2 on this list that did that this year. And then we also get the any new ones from the political party chairs. So in front of you, you have the list of the polling locations, the primary judge, the alternate judge. We have a list of backup judges. And what I've done new this year that we have to do is also the ballot board and the signature verification committee on there, and the central counting station that has to be put on there as well and been approved by the court.
Any questions, discussion?
Make the motion to approve item number 15 as presented.
Second.
Okay, you've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? All right, get signatures on this. Okay, item number 16, acknowledge the ordering of the 2023 constitutional amendments.
7/2023 election. And I do have in your packet the proclamation that was signed by the governor and sent to our office. And so this is basically acknowledging that proclamation for the order for that election, but I also have given to you for the order of a special election. They recommend that we do that. And on there, it states for early voting, the locations for the early voting. And the days and the times that early voting will take place. Early voting will be in the annex, the court Square at the building where the elections office is held. And it will be starting on October 23rd, and it go through November 3rd. We are asking that this year, no Saturday or Sunday early voting. It is our choice for this election, since it's a special election. I know I had presented that there was a new law that went into effect that required Saturday and Sunday and extended hours on the last week of early voting. That does not apply to this, since this is a special election, even though it's still statewide. So that'll help us out with our budget and for our workers. So I'm glad about that. So we are asking that we not have a Saturday and Sunday. This is a smaller turnout election in the years past. And we do have 2 extended days on November 2nd and November 3rd. We will be open from 7 to 7. And those are the required hours from the Secretary of State. And then it talks about the application for ballot by mail, and that is to go to myself and the FPCAs, and those cutoff dates are October 27th of this year. And we do have one joint election that we will be having with this election. It's not part of this order. I will be presenting that to the judge for signature, and that's for the Karnes City school. They will be having a bond election, and so that's every voter that is for Karnes City School will be getting that ballot.
Thank you, Beth. Item number 17, discuss, approve, disapprove Thornton and Tomasetti professional engineering proposals for multi-phase approach to investigate and evaluate cause of building damage and distress at the Karnes County Jail located at 500 East Wall, Karnes City, Texas, 78118. Presentation by Jeff Chapman will include scope of work and not to exceed the amounts for proposed phase. Shelby, Denny, and Jeff.
How are y'all?
Good.
Good. So for the jail investigation, I did get a proposal from Thornton Tomasetti, and what they've done is they've broken this out into a 2-part phase 1 investigation for the structural and repair, as well as the expansion scope for the jail. It's probably easiest for me just to read their short statement of their scope so you'll understand what they propose to do. For phase 1, or 1A, what they're calling, is what they state is the purpose of the phase 1A work is to perform engineering investigation services to evaluate the reported movement and structural concerns of the existing jail building. The scope of work for phase 1A includes a 1-day site visit for 2 engineers, interviews with jail personnel, review of documentation provided by the county, including drawings, original geotechnical reports, and previous evaluation reports from the experts involved in the structural and site assessment from the original litigation, site measurements of slab elevation at isolated locations, and production of a report with recommendations for further geotechnical testing or surveying as may be required. That's what they intend to do for phase 1. Very similar to the annex. They're going to come out, they're going to do an information gathering, site visit, set up some devices to measure the movement and evaluate the distance and movement of the structure to then be able to evaluate any additional geotechnical needs that they think they need, very much like they've done with the annex. The basic fee, the not to exceed limit for the phase that I just read and described to you is $16,500. Phase 1B, which is going to follow that initial effort, involves the expansion, and they acknowledge that there are plans for a future addition of the jail building. The purpose, according to Thornton Tomasetti's proposal, the purpose of the phase 1B work is to perform a qualitative peer review of the construction drawings for the future expansion and to identify any potential risks of constructing the expansion in light of the known existing movement regarding the building and the investigation from phase 1A. Essentially, they're going to evaluate the suitability of the site for the expansion based on what they learned during phase 1A and evaluate for that expansion portion whether any additional geotechnical or investigative work needs to happen. The scope of Phase 1B also includes the review of the construction drawings for the expansion and the production of a report with structural and geotechnical recommendations for any additional analysis that may be required. The not-to-exceed limit for Phase 1B is $7,500. And so the total amount requested as a not-to-exceed amount for their work, which will be billed based on the same hourly rates and engagement agreement we have with them for the annex, will be $24,000. Phase 2, which is not included with this current scope, is where they would intend to evaluate and utilize the further testing and then determine final recommendations and reports for use in the development and design of construction plans for the repair of the facility. So at this point, we're simply seeking approval from the court for a not-to-exceed amount of $24,000 for Phase 1A and Phase 1B for Thornton Tomasetti's work for the jail.
And this is a reputable company. If we go forward with this, with the Phase 2, that's somebody that's reliable. We can
Thornton Tomasetti and the
feel
team that they
good.
have assembled and have dedicated to both the annex and for this project are excellent engineers. I've worked with them many, many times. They're extremely thorough. They evaluate all the potential possibilities, and without overworking things, they make sure that they anticipate and address any potential concerns, especially in light of the fact that we're seeing existing movement at the structure in the rear by the Sally Port.
Okay.
And the geotechnical analysis that they're going to be looking for is yet to be determined, because they will need to understand the soil characteristics of the soils around the retaining wall, beneath the Sally Port, and then around the jail at the expansion areas. So they're holding off on seeking a geotechnical engineer to consult with them until they have a better understanding of the movement and the locations where they really need to investigate those areas.
Any other questions for Mr. Chapman? Discussion from the court? Action item?
I move that we approve Thornton and Tomasetti professional engineering proposals for the multi-phase approach to investigate and evaluate cause of building damage and distress at the Karnes County Jail located at 500 East Wall, Karnes City, Texas 78118, for a proposed, include the scope of work not to exceed the amount of $24,000 for Phase 1A and B.
I second it.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed, no. So I'm sorry to the taxpayers that we're having to go through this. It's something we inherited, but it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's going to be costly. It'll be a ride.
We have a choice.
Item number 18, discuss, approve, disapprove review of Thornton Tomasetti's observations and conclusions concerning Karnes County Annex located at 210 West Calvert, Karnes City, Texas 78118. Review Thornton Tomasetti's professional engineering proposal for Phase 2 of evaluation and design of foundation repair for Karnes County Annex, including geotechnical sub-consultant and surveyor proposals, each of which will include fee proposals and or not to exceed amounts. Chapman.
Thank you. So shifting to the annex, as I said last time, Thornton Tomasetti completed their initial evaluation of the structure. They've identified areas of movement and areas of concern. Just to summarize for the court and for the public, Thornton Tomasetti's initial evaluation of their data for the annex building showed that there is foundation movement that is the cause of all the distress we're seeing in the building. All of the cracks, both in the interior drywall and the exterior masonry, as well as the separation from the sidewalk to the exterior of the building, is all indicative of foundation movement primarily on the south, east, and west sides of the building. The north side of the building does not show signs of movement. In furthering their investigation and conclusions, Thornton Tomasetti has stated in their report that they've identified two two primary issues. There is excess moisture in saturated soils on the east and the west sides of the building, and there is negative drainage and saturation of soils due to drainage on the south side of the building. What they've recommended in order to understand exactly how wet the soils are becoming and the source of that moisture is, as I said last time, they've requested that we do some geotechnical analysis to evaluate that and also install a device called a piezometer, which measures groundwater levels and groundwater fluctuation over a long period of time. I did go back and talk to Zach Cates about that request because the initial proposal I got for that geotechnical work anticipated a 1-year duration for that evaluation, which seemed awfully long to me, given our desire to fix the building. I talked to Zach about shortening that time frame, and he suggested that that could be done probably in 3 months over the course of 1/4 of the year, with several site visits from the geotechnical engineer to measure the piezometer data and evaluate the fluctuations based on seasonal moisture, if that's the source, or groundwater moisture, which may be more consistent as far as its levels. So they're going to try to shorten the investigative phase to 3 months instead of 1 year as far as the groundwater and saturation evaluation. And then in addition to evaluating the, primarily, as I said, on the south side, as sheets across the property, they've asked for a survey to evaluate the elevation changes in and around the building. And so for y'all, and would ask for your consideration and approval. 2 of these, one for geotechnical and one for surveying. I've tried to get multiple proposals to bring to y'all for consideration. I had some challenges getting folks to respond to me, but I did get 2 proposals that seemed to me and seemed to Zach to be within the expected cost. ECS Southwest, which is a geotechnical firm, has provided a geotechnical proposal. And just so y'all know and feel comfortable with this, the scope of this work was provided directly from Zach Cates and Thornton Tomasetti to both the geotechnical and the surveying companies. So they're working off of the scope that Thornton Tomasetti needs for their evaluation. It's not something that I created. ECS back with a proposal that contains no negative, doesn't have any problems with respect to limitations of liability for their work. And they do have and will provide proof of insurance so that any borings they take, any negative consequences from that will be addressed, although we certainly don't expect that to happen. Their proposal from ECS is a total fee of $12,655. There are several alternate services proposed, and I don't know that we're going to need any of those, but they do list things like private utility location services. I think 811 should cover that for us.
Yes.
But they do list that. They also list an analytical testing of groundwater if that's required. I would like to allow, if the fee is approved by the court, I would like to allow about $2,500 in contingency fees for them because they've given us a hard proposal, not a not to exceed amount. And so if any of these additional services are needed, such as water analysis, if Thornton Tomasetti asks for that, like ECS to have the approval to do that from the court without having to come back, $1,200 approval, having a $2,500 contingent reasonable. I don't think we'll use it, but it seems prudent to do that. So if we go with the ECS proposal, which is my recommendation, that's what I would like to do, is have a not to exceed amount approving the 12,655 plus another $2,500. So, you know, roughly $1,500, sorry, $15,000
1,500
approval.
sounds better.
Yeah, I know it's better, but I misspoke. Just so you know, I intended to come back for that special meeting we called on the 11th with a proposal from Terracon, which I got in time, but I felt like it was something that would shock our system and perhaps stall the project. Terracon wanted $42,000. ECS obviously is significantly less. So rather than coming to you with only one proposal, I felt like it was a better and more prudent approach to come back today with a more reasonable amount. So for the geotech, I do not recommend using Terracon. They were the firm that did the original geotech on the building, and they were building from that initial proposal. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking about when they gave us that price, but it seems pretty exorbitant. So my recommendation for geotech is ECS in the $15,000 amount we just discussed. And then for the survey, we have a bid and proposal from Intrepid, which is a surveying firm that has provided us a price of $2,200 plus tax for the scope that Thornton Thomas City's recommended. And so y'all are aware, the scope of their survey will include to survey the south sidewalk, paving, and landscape areas, as well as the areas on the east side of the building. They're going to provide survey results to Thornton Thomas City and us using a CAD and electronic format that can be utilized by Thornton Thomas City in design documents as they may need it. And they're going to tie the elevation survey to the building slab benchmark elevations that were taken by Thornton Thomas City so that Thornton Thomas City can get a precise understanding of the differences in elevation and the slope of the sidewalks, because they believe that there is negative drainage. Negative drainage needs to be addressed so the water doesn't continue to push up against the foundation. And so for $2,200 plus tax, that is what Intrepid intends to do and provide that data to Thornton Thomas City. So I would also recommend and ask for approval of that amount.
On the geotech, the ECS, the total with the 2,500 would be 15,155. Is 15,000?
I think 15,000 is fine.
Okay.
The other services that they have in here as potential contingency items are not going to be needed. One item is a review of an existing report, which we do not need them to do. The original geotechnical work is not relevant to what we're doing now for the foundation. And then the second is a slab elevation survey, which Thornton Thomas City has already performed for 4,500. So I think the only amount that we might need is the water testing, so that Thornton Thomas City can understand the chemical component of the water and how that might impact the foundation repair methodology with respect to any type of chemical additive for stabilization. I think that may be a valuable service. I don't think we need the others, but I want to give ourselves just a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay. Questions?
Something we need to do.
This is to determine the proper way to recommend a repair to stop it from moving. What Thornton Thomas City has told me is they've got several ways to tackle the foundation movement, two of which being pressure grout or micropiles. Depending on the saturation and the characteristics of the soil, that's going to determine which is the most appropriate. They don't want to use micropiles if they can't find a base for those to sit and provide the stabilization. They may need pressure grout, and they may need to understand whether and what content of cement, for example, might be needed for stabilization. So that's why they're doing the geotech, to evaluate the soils. But the intent would be for them to provide a report with recommendations for repair methodology, which we can then publish for companies like Keller, Olshan, others to provide a bid to actually perform the work. Any other questions? So with that said, I would ask that a motion be made to approve the ECS proposal for a not to exceed amount of 15,000 and to approve the Intrepid surveying bid for the amount of $2,200 plus tax.
That's ECF?
ECS is the name of ECS Southwest is the geotechnical firm, and Intrepid is the surveying firm. We would probably use them for the jail too, but we're not at the stage yet where we need approval for that, so that's not on the agenda for today.
State that motion again.
Motion to approve the ECS geotechnical proposal in an amount not to exceed 15,000, and to approve the Intrepid Surveying and Engineering Corporation bid of $2,200 plus tax for the surveying of the annex.
I'll make that motion that be approved as stated.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Was there opposition?
No.
All right, motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, Joe. Item number 19, discuss, approve, disapprove, going into executive/closed session under Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, and Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. It is 9:59. We will head to executive session. Okay, we're gonna reconvene back into regular session at 10:29. Item number 20, discuss, approve, disapprove, taking possible action or actions as a result of executive session. No action to be taken. Item number 21, we have our consent agenda. We have reports from our county clerk, EMS, Constable Precinct 4, Elections Admin, District Clerk, Constable Precinct 1, and JP 4. We also have budget amendments, BA 2023-25, county library in 3,000, BA 2023-26, 250, county library in the amount of 1,500, and the $1,000 BA 2023-27, it's county library. And then we have a building maintenance / non-departmental, BA 2023-28, $5,000. Those are all ones that we discussed in the last court and approved.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, including the budget amendments.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? We need to discuss any items, consent agenda. Okay, then we'll have our updates from our commissioners, starting precinct 1.
Okay, number one, this past week, the first thing we did is, I wrote a letter to, Congresswoman De La Cruz, and as well as some others did here, discussing the broadband issues and especially our loss of cell power and 911 service in our county for numerous times. I talked with ACOG and with Marcella, and she gave me some information, and I put that in the letter to her, and I gave it to, forwarded to Rita as well as to Bonnie. Also, within that, we did find out that the 911 has a wireless system that'll work. However, you have to have cell phone service. So we've got one of the two issues that has been corrected. So hopefully they can figure out a way to do the cell phones if we ever lose everything again. On September 23rd, there will be the hazardous household cleanup thing at the Showbarn. I'm looking forward to, again, picking up probably 1,000 tires or so. And I've asked Road and Bridge to assist us if possible. I've also sent email to the probation office, adult probation, and to the JPs, asking for people that need to do community service to please show up. And hopefully they'll come this time. Also, just as a bit of notion, I notice COVID is starting to come up in our county. This Runge Schools has had some cases already, and we may need to revisit our COVID policy, Judge, later in the future, just to be safe in case this stuff starts kicking off again. I don't know, but it's starting to come around. the one thing I like about Rungy is that the superintendent there has created a link, and he shows you how many are out that day or that week. So right now, he's got like 9 staff members out, no students. And then again, I've provided y'all copies of some of the emergency medical task force map. The resources are available, as well as whatever the fires are out there. And then the governor has also issued a wildfire proclamation where if the county's been affected by a lot of wildfires, a lot of damage, we can recoup some money. And then I sent the judge yesterday, the state always changing these TDM 147s. And so now they want us to sign, they did a PDF one this time. We need to sign, I need to track down all the mayors and get them to sign it again, and then submit that back to the state. Other than that, and then a judge, I put on your table a memorandum of understanding for the LEPC. And with Wilson County, Atascosa, and McMullen, all 4 of us are trying to form one large LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Committee. And 3 judges have all signed it, and then after your review, I hope you'll sign it as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Precinct 2.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank all of our county employees. I know the whole court appreciates all the good work that they do. And let's see, tonight I'm going to attend the Fall City Council. We'll discuss getting this interlocal agreement started, I hope. Had a lot of calls about the burn ban. We need to pray for rain. Calls about trash on the road. Whole football season starts this Friday night lights. So wish all of our county teams good luck, and everybody be safe on the road, and pray for rain.
All right, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Had some meetings with some constituents on County Road 298, checking on the progress of 298 there in Helena. Also met with Road and Bridge. Met with Renee and some contractors at the auditor's building, the building that caught on fire. So we're looking at that one to find some contractors to help us rebuild it, remodel it, I'm sorry. Took care of several of the calls by the constituents with the help of Road and Bridge this last week.
Okay. Precinct 4.
I visited with a couple of constituents over the phone, a couple of different separate issues, nothing major. I did also visit with IT department on his status and how he's been doing and doing well, and then also working with Ms. Tapia on MOU that's still in the works for the city of Rungy.
City of Rungy. City of Rungy? Yes. Okay. All right, item number 24, we have our reports from our auditor and treasurer.
Okay, good morning, Court. So y'all should have a copy of the monthly report for July. We continue to trend very well with our revenues and expenses. We're looking for the first 10 months. We're going to probably trend out sales tax would probably be $3,500,000 over when we finish out the year. Based on what beginning of our interest would be about $1,750,000. Our expenses, as far as the general fund, we are under budget, looking at their budgets very closely. So all the reports are in there. The last page is the non-court bills, which amount to $11,053,290.22, which a majority of that is our GO that we pay out every week is $9,803,430.18, and which we're making money on that as we hold that money. On our investments, because of the time of the year, we always do have to dip into our investments a little bit. So our investments at the beginning of the month were $86,824,431.07. At the end of the month, we're $84,939,749.01. So we had to dip in about $2 million because we had interest that offset that. As far as other items on my monthly report and so forth, we are coming up on the end of the year. I will be sending out my year-end procedure that I always send out at the 1st of September for cutoff dates for purchase orders and so on and so forth, when to get invoices turned in. And I'm going to ask the departments after the 1st of September to meet with me to make sure their budgets are all good for this year. If there's any changes that need to be made before we close out the year, then we can meet with the judge after that, if there's any amendments to be made. The other item, after I presented the tax office audit at the beginning of July, Tammy had identified a check that we showed, she didn't know what it was, so we showed it as being in the surplus line item, not surplus, the line item that the county needed to reimburse back to the tax office. And actually it came from the city of Karnes City. So that just reduces what they're going to owe us from what we presented of $8,999.96 down to $4,244.04. It was a deposit that was made, and she wasn't aware of what it was for at first. So we talked about that. We got all that straightened out. I'm going to meet with her and Ms. Butler at the city to go over the amount that they owe us. Overall, everything else is the same on the report. There was nothing else regarding that. But one thing I do want to ask the departments to please come check folders in our office. We do put bills in there that come in, and they just need to be signed off on by the department heads. I'm trying to avoid as much emails as possible, because when we scan the item in, and you have to print it out, you have to rescan it in, so I'm just trying to avoid the double work. It's why we have the folder set up for the departments. So please try to come by once a week to check your bills. And I try to deliver them when I do make stops at the courthouse and annex and so forth. That's all I have. I mean, we continue to do very well for the month and for the year, actually.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good morning. Balance as of June 30th, 2023, $88,413,911.86. Receipts for the month of July, $91,930,100.77. Disbursements for the same time period, $94,234,010.55. For an ending balance as of July 31st, 2023, $86,110,002.08. The receipts and disbursements were quite a lot for the month of July, because Tom was moving money from Texas class for then us to send to Fernando to reinvest. So that's why it looks like we had a lot of money coming in and out, but that was just investments brought in and out.
Good. Item number 25, discuss/action on treasurer's report.
I'll make the motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? No. All right, item number 26, discussion/acknowledgement of personnel changes. With all departments, we got some new hires in the sheriff's department and EMS. We have some resignations/terminations in the sheriff's office, so we're going back and forth on that. August birthdays for employees: Bernard Lissy, Russell Wilson, Katrina Craig, Melissa Alvarez, Gilberto Gonzalez, Richard Rodriguez, Samuel Lozano, Gerald Allen, Gregory Smith, Ronnie Beering, Joel Saldana, Carla Vidas, Melissa Villegas, Vanessa Zuniga, Johnny Cumpian, and Megan Dennison. Employee anniversaries: Ronnie Beering, Road and Bridge, Justin Hill, EMS, Nathaniel Reyes, Sam Lozano, Glenn Villanueva, Alma Sanchez, Albert Gamboa, Benito Perez, and Olivia Monsivais. Happy anniversary and happy birthday to those folks. Item number 27, payment of bills.
Okay, Court, the bills were $1,104,213.35, which I believe the majority of that is road and bridge of $978,000, and a lot of that is CTIF expenses that we had this last month.
I'll make the motion to pay the bills as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Anybody opposed? Item number 28, acknowledge the Commissioners Court will meet for a public hearing / public meeting / special meeting on September 5th, 2023 at 6 PM in the evening. Here in the Karnes County Historic Courtroom located at 101 North Pan Maria Avenue, Suite 200, Karnes City, Texas, 78118. Item number 28 is to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All these need just